You are listening to A Scary State, and this week we cover Vermont. So, Lauren?
Yes, Kenzie?
Let's get scary.
Let's do it.
That was perfect.
You did such a good job.
First time.
Yeah, before we recorded that, you go, fuck.
I think I needed to, start thinking it through. And it helped that you gave me a warning. I always forget when I have to start.
Oh, yeah.
So, how was your New Year's?
It was good. Joe and I went over to a friend's house in D.C. There were only 10 of us. I dressed in a nice dress. I looked great.
You did.
Thank you. And then we left about 12:30. Joe drove, thank God. We got home. He ordered McDonald's. I had drank a little bit much. And so I remember laying on the couch, eating my McDonald's in a laying down position. Yep. And then the next day we went to my parents' house for a low country boil.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yummy.
It was delicious.
Yum, yum, yum.
How was your cabin in the woods?
It was fun. It was interesting.
How so?
Well, so when you go with people who are siblings, you have to play, mom.
Yes.
And so it was fine. It was fun, but one of my friends who was driving us in a very old car that doesn't like to go above, a certain mileage.
Oh my gosh.
And we're going up to Deep Creek, which finally found out where we were going once we got there.
That's really safe.
And I saw the signs for Deep Creek.
Oh, good.
So
at least you're observant and you noticed.
I asked if it was Deep Creek and nobody could tell me. So
we're going to a cabin at the end of January. I did not know where it was until they sent us the listing, until our group sent the listing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's where it is.
Yeah.
Fun.
And I asked too. I was like, oh, is it in Deep Creek? And someone's like, no, it's here. And I'm like, oh, okay, I've never heard of that place. But then we're driving. I'm like, no, it's fucking Deep Creek.
Yeah.
This is... But anyway, it's in the mountains. And I'm sitting in the back. And the road to get to the house is windy, is hilly.
Oh, yep.
So when we first got there, I looked at my friend and I was like, I'm going to just sit in the room for a second because I'm really dizzy.
Oh, God.
So I just need a second because I didn't want to say anything because part of the bickering was her driving. And so I was like, if I add to this, she's going to yell at me.
Right.
So it was fine. Although it was so funny. The girl who was driving us, love her, but she was annoyed. And we had to go to the grocery store to pick up just a couple small things.
Right.
And we were going to get alcohol. And as we're driving, I see beer, liquor, wine. I said, Go into the store. She starts walking around. We all go to the bathroom. And I look at my friend. I go, I'm pretty sure Maryland doesn't sell alcohol in grocery stores.
They do not.
And she just looks at me. I was like, I could be wrong. But... And we were all afraid to tell her because she was so annoyed already.
We learned that going to the beach too. It was Joe and I, it was our responsibility to pick up the food for that beach trip. And we're like, okay, we'll go to Walmart, we'll pick up everything. Nope.
Yeah, nope.
Nope.
Which is really inconvenient.
I think it's because we're so used to being able to go to the grocery store and pick up the things we need.
Do you know how wonderful it is in New Orleans? You could walk into CVS and buy a bottle of liquor. It's amazing.
That is wonderful.
It's wonderful.
But in Maryland, I will say though, you can buy your liquor and your beer and your wine all in the same place. That's Massachusetts too, which is really nice.
Yeah.
They have package stores up there.
Like that.
Maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, and it was a lot of fun. It was, okay, so I have a problem. I have this weird thing that goes off in my brain when someone tells me I can't do something. I then have to
hyperfixate on doing it
and prove to them that, in fact, I can do it. So a couple of the people there started this puzzle. I was not involved with this puzzle for quite some time. And they were like, oh, we're going to do it in an hour. And we're not going to do the
How many
puzzle.
pieces was it?
550.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Didn't do it in an hour. A couple hours go by. That's when I join. There's 4 of us now that are working on this puzzle. And eventually, someone says, I bet you guys won't even be able to do it till midnight.
Oh, God.
And I was like, want to fucking bet? I didn't. But it got to the point where I'm like, I am so committed at this point.
But you need to see it
I
through.
have to finish. I stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning. Just not to make me seem super psychotic, I did pause throughout and like have dinner.
Enjoy your New Year's.
Get ready. And I like watched the ball drop and did the whole New Year's thing and then went back to my puzzle.
Oh my God.
So it's not like I was like, and the puzzle was in the middle of the...
So you're still engaged with everyone.
I'm still engaged. I'm just over here.
It's just funny because I know your group of friends. And so when you were like, oh yeah, we're doing a puzzle, I was like, that doesn't sound like them.
Well, and then like all of us are like getting drunk throughout the day.
Yeah, naturally.
And so like people were coming in and out like helping me with the puzzle.
Oh, okay.
And so I knew that one of the guys, I knew they had fucking taken a puzzle piece.
Ugh.
But I couldn't prove it.
You could have empty your pockets.
I did.
Oh.
I made everybody empty their pockets.
Where did they hide it?
I don't know. I'm assuming he put it like in his room.
Oh, okay.
And didn't have it on his person.
Or maybe in a sock.
Maybe. There was one piece missing.
That is so upsetting.
And he did have the fucking puzzle
That
piece.
is so upsetting. Is he the one who bet you couldn't do it?
Yes.
Oh.
He is.
What an evil person.
Right?
He's like, I bet you can't finish it because I'm going to make sure you can't finish it.
Yeah. Although, even if I had that puzzle piece, I still would not have finished by midnight. Because I still finished at like 4 a.m.
But still, you didn't finish.
Right.
Like, you kind of finished.
And some people call it obsessive or whatever. I think it's more driven.
Focused.
And passionate.
Committed.
Exactly.
Look at it. It's like, you're just a
Exactly.
good person. Until you hurt him for taking the puzzle piece.
Yeah, I did threaten his life.
I mean,
very angry. You just don't do that.
I feel like a lot of people have felt that pain. I had a
Yes.
1,000 piece puzzle that I did during COVID. And I would work on it for like a couple hours before work. And then I would go to work. And then I would wake up the next morning and I would do a couple more, like 2 more hours of it because this is when I was working nights. And we got to the end and we go to look at all of it. One piece is missing. I'm like, never found the piece until the puzzle was put away, and we were doing like a deep clean of the living room.
No!
Because you know what our carpet looks like in that living room?
Yeah.
The piece was like a New York scene.
Okay.
And so all the colors. And
Yeah.
so the piece blended right into the carpet.
Damn.
And I checked that carpet. So I think it like disappeared and then came back.
That's funny.
So I understand your pain.
We played a massive game of goldfish. Not goldfish. Goldfish. It started off with just a few of us, and then it grew. The amount of people that had never played before
What?
was astonishing.
How have you never played Go Fish before?
I don't know.
That's like the first card game you learn.
Right. Whatever the statistic is for people that know Go Fish versus not, we broke it because there was 12 people there
Wow.
and like 4 or 5 of them had never played before.
That's shocking.
Right?
I feel like everyone knows that game.
Exactly.
Well, I guess not.
And I was always the shuffler, which meant I was also always the dealer, which meant I also always went last, which was great when there was 4 of us playing.
Right.
But then when there was 10, I couldn't remember what everybody had.
Yeah.
So I had no idea what to ask people. Sucked.
Why didn't you switch up dealers?
Because no one was shuffling. No one could shuffle the cards.
How I would do it is I would shuffle and then hand it to the person to deal. Or you teach them.
Well, and I was trying to play solitaire. And people kept asking me, they were like, why are you playing solitaire by yourself? I'm like, because that's the name of the fucking
right.
game.
You did a lot of solitary games.
Well, I like solitaire.
Puzzle,
I
solitaire.
really enjoy it. The puzzle was not my fault. I would never have gotten the puzzle out in the first place. And had I not heard someone say that I couldn't do it,
Who you had to prove wrong.
right, then I would have just left it. I'm not going to lie, though. They were like, oh, like, I don't want to touch it. I was like, we got to break it up anyway to put it back in the box.
Right.
So it's fine. Like, just break it. I took my pictures, my videos, whatever. And they did it. And I was like, ow.
It does always hurt.
It hurt a little bit.
It
I
hurts.
was like, damn. Let's see. What else did we do? The New Year's Day,
Mm-hmm.
we just like kind of hung out, played games, things like that. And it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Just hanging out. We were comfy.
Aw.
It was like one of those days where I felt like I was laughing every 2 seconds.
The entire time,
Like
yeah.
my stomach was in stitches, literally.
Aw.
It was so great. It was so much fun. And I'm like, even on New Year's Eve, I was like, do we have to dress up? I'm like, I'm so comfortable.
Well, that one New Year's we had where we were in sweats.
Oh my
Oh.
God.
Amazing.
Well, and even last year, we took pictures
Mhm.
and then got into comfy clothes.
yeah.
And I'm like, can we just skip that part? Why don't we just buy really cute, comfy clothes?
Right.
They're cheaper and we can wear them again. I've worn the sweatpants that we bought that one year every other week.
You're wearing mine right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. That one time Nora said I looked like a prisoner. That's what I was wearing, were those sweatpants and a gray sweatshirt. Yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
They're
times.
just comfy.
They are comfy. But yeah, the drive wasn't bad on the way back. And I listened to my serial killer podcast.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Because, yeah, when you were like, oh, I'm listening to a podcast driving home, I was like, did she drive up there by herself? Are the people she's with letting her listen to podcasts?
Ben wanted to play the silent game.
Oh.
Because he was done with all of us.
Wow, okay. I can respect that.
So.
How long of a drive was it?
A little less than 3 hours. Like,
that's not
2.5, 2:45.
That's about how ours is up to the cabin we're going to.
Yeah. So, it was fun. It was a good time.
Oh,
I
good.
definitely think it's worth it to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, we hope everyone else had a good New Year's with whoever they wanted to spend time with.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a weird thing happen at work today.
Oh.
Okay. I'm in my meeting. We had a meeting today. And it was from 9:30 to 10:30.
Okay.
And it's about 10-ish. So you know when you look at the sun, if you glance at the sun and you get a sunspot, right, in your eye, and you like can't see when you're looking straight at things. So that started to happen in this room. And I'm like, am I staring at a bright light? Like, we're not, because the screen wasn't working. So I'm not staring at a bright light. The lights are like kind of dim in the room because we didn't have them turned on all the way. And I was like, what in the world is this bright light? Or like sunspot I have. So it got to the point where it looked like a half circle of my vision was like glitchy. And like I would be writing stuff and I couldn't see like part of my writing because of how like this was. And I kept like looking at my coworker's face and it's just like I could not see her full face because each time I looked it would like get distorted.
That's
and
weird.
So I started to freak out. I'm like, I'm dying. And it was my left side too. And I'm like, I'm gonna die. And I'm like sitting in this meeting. I'm like, we have 20 minutes left. Like, I'm gonna die. And so we get out of the room and I like told my coworker, I was like, can you explain this to me? And she's like, oh, I usually get like, you know, spots in my eyes before a migraine. I said, but it's not spots. Like my vision is glitchy.
Yeah.
And so I go back to my desk and I like look it up. I was like, why is my vision glitchy? And then someone was like, zigzag vision. So I said, what is that? So I looked up zigzag vision. That's exactly what it was.
Oh.
Come over here. Let me show you what zigzag vision looks like.
Okay.
So this.
Oh, fuck.
And this. So it's blurry.
Yeah. It's almost like you have one contact in.
Kind of.
Yeah.
So like it was just like a semicircle was blurry in each eye. And it felt like my eye was drooped. Like I couldn't see up.
Yeah.
And it felt like there was like my eye was like closed or something. And I was like freaking out. So I was like, oh, zigzag vision. So I looked it up. It's like what you get like right before people get like an ocular or visual migraine.
Oh.
But I didn't get a migraine.
Huh.
But I've been having a headache for like the past 5 days. That's not going away, which is fun. But I was like, oh, I wonder what this is. So I think that's it. And it was like, oh, it'll last 20 minutes to an hour. And I was like, what the fuck? So after 40 minutes, it went away. But it was so scary.
Yeah, I don't know how you made it through the end of the meeting.
And like I got back to my desk and I literally was like so close to going home because I was like, if this doesn't go away, I'm gonna die here. So,
I want to die at home.
Right. And so it just was like so weird.
That is weird.
It's happened to me one time before. That's why, but it was like more intense this time. But I just was not a fan. It was so scary. And like I got nervous that my hands got really cold. So now I'd feel my face would feel hot. And I was like, oh my God. And then because I'm freaking out about it, my heart's pounding.
Oh my Lord.
But I made it through the meeting. I made it back to my desk and then it like went away. But it's like a very uncomfortable feeling where you're trying to look at stuff and you can't fully see it.
It's almost like there's like a fuzz in your eye.
Yeah, but it's like exactly if you see a sunspot, there's that blue thing that's getting in the way of your vision. So I had that, but it was blurry.
Yeah.
And like it's just like obscuring my vision. I hated it.
Oh, I'm sure. I would hate it too. Well, I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, me too. And I told my coworker and she was like, I told her what it was and she's like, oh my God, can I come see? So she like ran over to my desk and I showed her the pictures I just showed you. And she was like, oh my God, this is so fascinating. I said,
no.
I was like, if you don't hear from me in like 30 minutes, please come check on me.
Yeah, right. Like, please make sure I'm still breathing.
You're one row over, so everyone in my row would see me die, but like, I need you to come over.
If you hear like a loud crash or something.
Right, it's me.
Yeah. Like, I am dead.
But yes, that was a scary thing I had to tell you because I did not like it.
I'm sorry.
Does anyone else get that? If you've had that before, like, let me know.
It's weird.
It was weird. All right, so on to Vermont. I think we talked enough about things. Do I have anything? Oh, no.
Not on to Vermont.
No.
On to Idaho.
Yes. So we wanted to give updates on the Idaho case that's been going on. So there are updates to the awful case. A little refresher if you haven't heard, 4 University of Idaho students were murdered in an off-campus house on November 13th. I think it's important to say their names, and if I pronounce the last names wrong, I really do apologize. But the victims are Kaylee Gonclaves, 21, Madison Mogan, 21, Zena Kernoodle, 20, and Ethan Chapin, 20. At the time and shortly after, we didn't have much information about what had happened until now. But now we do have a suspect, 28-year-old Brian Koberger. He was arrested on December 30th with 4 counts of first-degree murder and another charge of felony burglary for entering a residence with intent to commit murder. So the first degree also could be because it's believed that he may have been tracking their phones before the killings.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Though it hasn't been confirmed, but that's like a thought that they have. Koberger was a student attending Washington State University, which is about 10 miles from the University of Idaho. What police believe happened is that sometime between 3 and 4 a.m. on November 13th, he entered the off-campus house. The house had 6 rooms. He attacked the 4 victims all while they were asleep. There were 2 other people in the house who I think were downstairs, and he didn't go to them. Koberger is expected to make his first court appearance in Idaho today as we record. So this is January 5th, the day we're recording. He has his first court appearance today, so we don't have that information. And if the time you're listening to this, there's been more things, we're giving you what we have at this date.
Right, January 5th.
Yes.
I've been keeping up via Twitter,
Yes.
Best news outlet.
No,
there is.
seriously.
So one of the ththings I saw that they released was 2 police officers pulled him over.
In Indiana, I believe.
Yeah. And they were like really close together too.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
one was like a policeman for whatever county they were in.
They were speeding.
And then one was a state trooper.
The next one, they believe it was he was following too close behind.
Both of them he was pulled over for the same reason.
Oh.
But at that time, like, they didn't know that any of this other stuff happened.
Right.
But they released the footage and it's him and his dad.
Yeah.
And so his defense attorney is saying that the reason he's in that car was because his dad came to pick him up to take him home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what he's going with of why he was in that car.
Yeah, because they were doing like a holiday road trip from Washington to where their house is, I think, in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. And right now they didn't release why they suspect him, and we probably won't know until the court proceedings.
I did get a notification as I was like driving home today, and it said something about his DNA was found in a trash can, one of the students, they say, saw a man in a black mask, and then I didn't read the full thing because I accidentally clicked out of it and I was driving. He had DNA that was found in a trash can that somehow connected into the scene.
Yeah, they got a search warrant for his DNA, his car, and his parents' house. I think probably the most creepiest part of this whole thing is that he is getting a PhD in criminology.
Right. No, so
and his undergrad degree was also...
Casey Jordan, a criminologist, told CNN in an interview that he seemed, quote, obsessed with crime, and, quote, from the outlet, we had to understand this was an organized killer. And so they said that, I didn't want to talk about his education because I don't think he deserves that.
Right.
But he was studying criminal justice and was researching the emotions of individuals committing crimes.
As soon as I heard that was his degree, I was
Yep.
I feel like he tried to do this to see if he could get away with it.
Right.
You know?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So also, someone had made a report who knew him, and they said that Koberger had a history of lashing out at women and was following the victims before the killing, as well as being very careful to avoid police afterwards. And then after the killings, that's when he went back to his parents' house in Pennsylvania. Before the arrest, a police had been following him, a police officer. He said that he had observed Koberger going to the store while wearing gloves in a possible attempt to avoid being caught, so he wasn't leaving his fingerprints places.
Yeah.
Because that's how they catch people.
Sure.
They'll get your DNA from a cup you throw out, because once you throw it out, it's no longer your property.
Yeah,
so they
absolutely.
take the cup. There are a lot of articles mentioning how he was just a creepy and hostile person, and he had charges against him of women who he worked with who said he was super creepy, and they just hated being around him. So yeah, there's a lot, I guess, that we don't know about this case.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of mystery surrounding it.
Well, and we won't know the ins and outs of
anything,
of the reasoning, the official reasoning behind making the arrest. Obviously they got the search warrant for his DNA and things like that, but we won't know those details until court proceedings.
Right, which is happening, like I said, today, January 5th, the day we're recording. So We'll keep updating on this because it's tragic.
Oh, you know what I saw somewhere on Twitter? Someone tweeted, I don't know how true it is. It was just a tweet, wasn't an article. And someone was like, how dumb do you have to be to commit a crime and then go home to a state that doesn't have the death penalty, but the crime you committed, the state in does?
Oh, they talked about that. The extradition. He was like, yeah, I'll go back to Idaho for extradition.
But Pennsylvania doesn't have the death penalty.
Yeah, I know. But if he gets extradited back to Idaho, then he'd be charged. He's being charged in Idaho court.
Right. Because that's where the crime was. Yeah. And the person was like...
Because he chose, he forewent whatever would keep him in Pennsylvania. He was like, yeah, I'll go back to Idaho.
But I think the point was, it's like, you're from Pennsylvania and they don't have the death penalty and you decide to commit a crime in a state that does. I mean, obviously
I'm interested
stupid.
For what the motive is.
So I was like, when we were in the car and we were all talking about it, and one of my friend's sisters was like looking things up like on TikTok and you know, finding out information, and she was like, I wonder why he did it, like, and I was like, I mean, it could very well be random,
right?
Like, it could just be he wanted to get away with the crime.
Well, but he had been following them though,
so that's what she said. And she said that one of the victims was their, not injuries, I feel like that's not the right word, but I guess so, was like more like brutal and had more brutality than any of the others.
Interesting.
Almost like that was his intended target.
And then everyone else was just sadly collateral.
Right. And so I was like, I mean, it could very easily be that she rejected him.
Right.
And she was like, really, to do that? I said, do you not know the male species these days?
And it seems like, especially because his one person who knew him was like, oh yeah, he lashes out at women.
Right.
Of course, if someone rejects him, he's going to be pissed off.
Exactly. I'm like, this is why women are afraid.
Right.
Like, I know that it's a running joke that most women listen to these true crime things, but I call it studying your enemies.
Yes.
Like,
and that's why I hate when people are like, why didn't she just say no? Well, because if she said no, she was going to die.
Right. Like, my sister and I, when we were in New Orleans, we got an Uber back to my grandparents, or back to our hotel. And the guy was like kind of creepy. Yeah. Like, just odd vibes.
Yeah.
And my sister wasn't saying anything, but I was just very like agreeable, like just, doing all that.
Right. Keeping him happy.
And she was like, oh my God, like, he was so creepy. Like, I can't believe you talked to him. I was like, I felt afraid that if I didn't, we're in his car. It would
set him off.
It's the middle of the night. Like, not that her and I were trashed or anything.
Right. But still, it
just...
Yes.
It's almost like, okay, yeah, you're right. I want to say no. I want to tell him to fuck off. But I'm also like, I don't know what he's going to do.
Right.
Because people get offended saying like, oh, well, just trying to be nice. It's like, that's great, but I still don't want your attention.
Right.
So
it's like, just because you're nice doesn't mean you're owed anything.
Right. Exactly. Like, you should be nice.
Right. That's the standard.
Right.
Should be the standard.
And as long as you're nice, then I would feel comfortable being like, oh, I appreciate it, but no thank you, like, whatever. And then
until you turn.
And it's just
yup. We could go on.
We could have a whole episode about it.
Well, yeah, God, it makes my blood boil. So let's talk about Vermont instead.
Let's talk about Vermont.
So Vermont is the largest producer of maple syrup in the U.S. Do you say syrup or syrup?
Syrup.
Producing over 500,000 gallons a year.
What do you say?
Syrup.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. Syrup. Well, I read it maple syrup.
Yeah.
Vermont was the first to grant partial voting rights to women in 1880.
Hell yeah.
Was one of the first to abolish slavery.
Hell yeah.
And legislated same-sex marriage.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It is considered the second most peaceful state in the U.S.
Love it.
It lost to, I think it was one, and then I think it lost to Hawaii.
Hawaii?
I think so.
I thought it was Wyoming was like the peaceful state.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because there's more cows or sheep or whatever than people in Wyoming.
The only state capital without McDonald's is Montpelier.
Ah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, because it's such a small state.
Yeah.
75% of the state is covered in forest, which is about 4 million acres.
Wow.
Yeah. The coldest temperature recorded in Bloomfield was negative 50 degrees, which is negative 45 Celsius in 1933. And the highest temperature recorded was 105, with being 40% Celsius, or 40 degrees Celsius. The largest grilled cheese was made by the Cabot Creamery of Vermont.
Ooh.
It was 320 pounds and measured 5 feet by 10.5 feet by 2 feet. No, by 2.5 inches.
Wait, say that again?
So 5 feet.
5 feet wide?
10.5 feet.
Okay.
And then 1 or 2.5 inches.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's a
Well, no.
thick boy.
That would be feet. This would be inches. I don't know how it could be that. I don't know. That's what they made. They are also home to the largest s'more, which was 32 square feet wide.
Wow.
Yeah. In 1942, the Von Trapp family, who inspired the sound of music, moved to Stowe, Vermont.
Oh, I didn't know that's where they ended up.
Yeah, there's a ski lodge there, and it is said that their descendants are still running it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Champ is a friendly 20 to 80 foot long creature with a snake or dog like head, because those are so similar,
Sure.
who lives in Lake Champlain. He is said to be friendly but shy, and there is actually a famous picture of him taken in 1977. It looks like the exact same picture that's used for the Loch Ness Monster.
Of course.
Back in 1834, the Corwin family lost their oldest son to a strange illness. Like illnesses do, their second son soon got sick as well, and because this is how it was at the time, the family was told they needed to protect themselves from vampires. Their eldest son's body was dug up and burned, and those ashes were buried beneath the village green in Woodstock. It is said that years later, a few boys tried to dig up the ashes but heard screaming and voices surrounding them as they did so.
Oh, shit.
Records have been pulled, but no records could be found of the Corwin family in the area, but the urban legend still remains that they are just ashes buried in Woodstock.
How would you dig up ashes?
If it's in an urn.
Oh.
What do you think when people are
just thought they
cremated? Do you
dumped
think
it.
they just dump it in the ground?
Well, people spread ashes.
Yeah, if they're spreading them.
That's just what I imagined.
If you're burying them, they're
That
in a
is
nice box.
Just what I imagined, that they were spreading the ashes, getting rid of it because they were afraid of the vampire things. I didn't imagine that they buried it in a box. I'm like, these dumbass kids. It's
I
gonna look
love
like
your
dirt.
brain turning like, how do you dig up ashes?
I'm like, stupid.
Stupid. Presidents Chester A. Arthur and Calvin Coolidge were both born in Vermont.
There's so many presidents that I don't know.
I know. One of them, I think Coolidge, was the only president who has been born on the 4th of July. Which is kind of cool. So, weird fact, each were vice presidents who became president after the sitting president died in office.
Who is the...
I don't know.
Coolidge was right before the Great Depression.
You're asking me like I know.
Who was the other one? Arthur?
Chester A. Arthur.
I feel like he was early.
He was early.
But he was after Lincoln.
21st.
Ha!
Look at you.
Who was
And
before
then
him? McKinley?
Garfield.
Garfield. And then who was before Coolidge?
He was the 30th. So 29th president was...
Was it Truman? Or Woodrow Wilson?
Harding?
Oh.
Warren Harding. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. So the founders of Ben & Jerry's, Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield, are from Vermont. Bernie Sanders was the mayor of Burlington.
I forgot that that's where he...
Yeah. Alexandra Twilight, the first African-American ever to graduate from college in the U.S., was born in Vermont.
So cool.
JoJo's from Vermont.
JoJo?
Get up.
Oh.
I think that's the JoJo they were talking about. And Luis Guzman, the actor most recently known for his role as Gomez Adams in the popular Netflix show Wednesday, was also from...
Such a great show.
I know. But he was also from Vermont.
Cool.
But yeah, such a good show. I'm so
Great
excited
show.
for season 2, because there's gonna be a season 2.
See, here's my problem with these shows, and this is why I always end up not continuing to watch them. Because the first season's great, watch the whole thing, get super obsessed, and then it takes forever.
Forever.
And I'm like, I don't want to rewatch season 1, but I don't remember shit.
Mm-hmm.
I need a Cliff Notes version.
Yeah. And then
just,
you try to be like, okay, I'm just gonna rewatch the last episode, but then you don't remember anything that happens, so you
Yeah.
end up watching the whole thing. Yeah.
I can't.
That's how it was for Orange is the New Black. Mom and I would
That's
watch it together.
one of those shows that I
Yeah.
stopped watching.
Oh, so good. But we would watch it every year together. We would go to the beach because that's right when it came out.
Yeah.
So every night we would watch a couple episodes, and we were always like, now what happened last year?
Who is that person and why are
Right.
they here?
Or there would be a huge cliffhanger, and you're like, oh my God, that's what we were on.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that was a great show.
Yeah, it was a good show.
I really like it. Oh, okay. Mackenzie, what in Vermont are you telling us about?
Talking about the Eddy Brothers. I said that really far away from the microphone. Sorry.
The Eddy Brothers.
The Eddy Brothers.
Oh, no, the lamp. Oh, no. It stayed still. We have a lamp that, is not balanced in our little studio. I don't know what is wrong with it, but Mackenzie, bumped it, and it slowly did this lean, and I didn't think it was going to make it.
That's why I had to hold it when I was trying to take a picture because it was leaning and I needed it to be upright.
I don't know what that light is. But, yeah, We've had it for a while, and it just gives a nice little glow.
You know, it's like character.
Yeah.
A crooked lamp. Any hooser. Okay. The Eddy brothers. So, William and Horatio Eddy were the sons of Zephaniah. I want to say Zachariah, but I know that's not it because it has none of the letters except for a Z. Zephaniah Eddy and his wife, Julia McCombs. No mention of the date, but probably mid-1800s based on when they supposedly died.
Okay.
Like 1840s-ish, give or take.
Okay.
So there is speculation that the Eddy brothers came from a long line of psychics and mediums. One of their distant relatives, Mary Bradbury, had been convicted of witchcraft during the Salem witch trials of 1692, allegedly.
Ooh.
She managed to escape with the help of some friends, and their grandmother had psychic abilities and occasionally would go into trances or speak to apparitions no one else could see. Julia, their mother, also had her own abilities. She was able to make predictions and would try to frighten neighbors with her visions.
I think Mom, Grandma, and I have something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of when I was reading this.
Really?
I was thinking of you guys.
And then also, like I said, and it's still just like, I love it so much. When I went to the palm reader, the first thing she said really when she looked at my hands was, you know you're psychic, right? And I was like, I have an inkling.
When I went to the tarot cards, she was like, your third eye is kind of open. You might want to not open it all the way. And I was like, okay.
And let me keep doing all this stuff to open it.
Open that motherfucker. But
Maybe keep it just slight, like not all the way wide, just a little close so that it's not open all the way, but open like pretty wide.
it's like imagine the third eye is high.
Right.
And so the eyes are just slightly drooped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep it like that.
Yeah. That's
Perfect.
Good. That's good. Okay. So William and Horatio claimed to have psychic abilities from a very early age. Reports say that the boys could vanish from their cradles and reappear in other parts of the house. The house would start shaking and voices could be heard throughout different rooms.
See, that'd be terrifying.
Oh, absolutely.
Like going to find your child and they're not in their crib.
Yeah, Dad was not happy about it.
Yeah.
Their father would see them playing with children that he did not recognize, and when he would go over to them, they would vanish.
Mm-mm.
As the boys got older and started attending school, disturbances followed them. Books, rulers, and other objects would go flying across the room, and desks would levitate. Their disturbances... These multisyllabic words are just killing me today.
Syllabic.
Yeah.
That's a nice word.
Thank you.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Their disturbances got to be such a problem that the boys had to leave school. The brothers' father, Zephaniah, would become enraged when his sons would go into trances or caused disturbances. He would often abuse his sons to get them to stop. He would constantly be beating them, pouring boiling water on them.
Oh my God.
Even trying to starve them. He consulted it. What the fuck is wrong with me?
You want like more syllables. He consulted it.
Like everything is just like... I'm going to read slower. He consulted with one of his fellow Christian friends about what he should do to rid his sons of the devil. And his friend suggested putting a hot piece of coal onto William's hand.
Oh.
This also did nothing to bring the boys out of their trance.
Yeah, why would that? Oh, I guess the pain thing.
Yeah. And it left William with a scar for the rest of his life.
Wild how that would happen.
Uh-huh. There were even reports that the spirits the boys were able to manifest would try and defend them from their father. And when nothing was working and Zephaniah was at the end of his rope, he decided to make some money off of his son's abilities and sold them to a traveling show.
Oh.
They would travel all across North America and supposedly Europe. Part of their performance would be to go into one of their trances, and audience members would do whatever they could to try to break them out of it. They would be poked, punched, slapped, stoned, and even shot at to get the brothers to break.
Oh my God.
The brothers were a part of the show for 14 years until they finally returned home once their father had passed.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a life.
Right. They moved back into the family farm near the town of Chittenden. At one point, spiritualists called, that's going to be a really hard word and I say that so much.
Spiritualists?
Yes. Called Chittenden the spirit capital of the universe.
Oh, universe.
Right. William and Horatio opened an inn called the Green Tavern that they ran with their sister Mary. For $8 a week, you could stay at the inn and participate in many of their seances.
We would have totally done that.
Did I say that right? Mm-hmm. Okay. They would gather guests in their tavern room where they would see spirit manifestations and instruments play on their own. Brothers were, of course, met with skepticism from non-believers who thought that the Eddy family to be frauds.
Do you remember, Charlie the unicorn?
Let's go to Candy Mountain, Charlie.
When they go, Shun the non-believer. Shun. So when you said non-believer,
it's one of those things that, like, I know that I watched it.
I only remember small parts, and that's one of them.
I don't really know.
Shun.
I need to, like, rewatch shit so that I can participate in
Oh my god, do you remember Salad Fingers?
No.
Oh my god, he was the creepiest thing. He had, like, videos. It was like a cartoon animated thing, but it was like along the time of like Charlie the Unicorn or whatever. It was so creepy. Look up Salad Fingers.
The ones that I remember is the blueberries. Blueberries. And then she falls and the blueberries. It's hilarious.
I don't think I know that one. There's
this also really great one where this poor girl, I don't know what it is about when people get hurt, but I laugh way harder than I should. But she's doing the single ladies dance and she's got a clown mask on.
Oh.
And she goes to like shake her head forward and whacks it on her teeth.
I think I've seen that one.
And then there's another girl who's dancing and she's on top of a table and then the table breaks. That was a good one. And then there's the one, you know, where it's like that scenic drive and then the scary thing pops out. There's a really hilarious video. We were having some sort of get together at our home at my dad's house and we were in our, well, it was a playroom when we were little. And then we didn't know what else to call it once we stopped playing in there.
Oh.
So it's just the playroom.
The playroom.
And there's a bunch of us and we're all seated around the computer and we're watching the video and like we know it's coming. And my sister like took a video of us all reacting to it.
Oh, that's funny.
And there's like a part where it's like in slow motion too. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I'm peeing myself. I was so funny.
That is so funny.
So those are the ones I remember. Oh, and End of the World.
Oh. Yep.
That's good one.
Take a nap. Zenfire Z missiles. Oh, we watch that all the time. That is so funny. Okay, go on.
Motherland. Oh my God. Talk about rambling.
Oh, I know.
So this brings us to the introduction of Colonel Henry Steele Olcott. But before we dive into his story, we need to know a little history about the spiritualism movement of the late 1800s.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
I know.
I really am loving this topic.
It's going to be fun. So, according to Wikipedia, spiritualism is, and this is a really big-ass quote, but I felt like it really encompassed everything because spiritualism of what it is now versus what it was when it first started.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's the metaphysical school of thought opposing physicalism and also the category of all spiritual beliefs / views in monoism and dualism from ancient to modern. In the long 19th century, spiritualism, when it was not lowercase, became most known as a social religious movement according to which the laws of nature and God include, quote, the continuity of consciousness after the transition of death and the possibility of communication between those living on earth and those who have made the transition. The afterlife, or the spirit world, is seen by spiritualists not as a static place, but as one in which spirits continue to evolve. These two beliefs, that contact with the spirits is possible and that spirits are more advanced than humans, led spiritualists to a third belief, that spirits are capable of providing useful insight regarding moral and ethical issues, as well as about the nature of God. Some spiritualists will speak of a concept which they refer to as spirit guides, specific spirits often contacted who are relied upon for spiritual guidance.
Very cool.
Right? So, also a part of this movement were the Shakers. The Shakers were the United Society of Believers in Christ's second appearing, but they went by Shakers.
Okay.
They were also making their way kind of throughout the Northeast. Their ideology is very similar to the spiritualist views at the time. They thought that the second coming part, like, that's why they could see these manifestations.
Oh.
And like, so that was the part, but it was more tied to Christianity than some of the other spiritualist stuff that we know of today. So because of the brothers' abilities to make various manifestations appear, they became very popular among spiritualists. God, I fucking hate this word. And Shakers. So this brings us back to Mr. Olcott. Before he met the Eddy Brothers, Henry Olcott was a successful attorney who had no interest or belief in spiritualism. Olcott was born in 1832 in New Jersey and attended college in New York City studying agricultural science, which I thought was hilarious.
Why?
In New York City?
Oh, yeah.
Agriculture?
Yeah, that's true.
One of these things is not like the other. He published 3 scientific works and went on to become the farm editor for the New York Tribune. And when the Civil War started, Alcott enlisted in the Union Army. He was a special investigator that was in charge of catching corruption and fraud in arsenals and shipyards. And this is kind of the coolest part. He was promoted to colonel and was part of the 3-person panel that investigated the assassination of President Lincoln.
Cool.
Isn't that really cool?
Yes.
It was after the war that Alcott went on to study law and became a successful attorney.
Wow.
So one day, as he returned from his lunch, he decided to browse through a copy of a spiritualist newspaper, The Banner of Light. The article was discussing the strange happenings in Chittenden, Vermont, particularly at the home of the Eddy Brothers. Alcott decided he needed to investigate these claims for himself to see if they were real or frauds. Alcott traveled with a newspaper artist, Alfred Capes, and they planned to publish their findings in the Daily Graphic. Alcott swore that he would publish his honest findings and be truthful if he thought their abilities were valid. So Alcott stayed with at the Eddy home for weeks. I read a couple reports that it was 10 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a little overstaying your welcome.
That's what I thought too, but I mean, I guess it is an inn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So he stayed with them for weeks and studied their every move. He brought in experts like engineers and carpenters to try and find any trapdoors or tricks. They came up empty. At first, one would think that Alcott thought very little of the brothers, describing them to his readers as, quote, "There is nothing about the Eddys or their surroundings to inspire confidence on first acquaintance. The brothers Horatio and William, who are the present mediums, are sensitive, distant, and curt to strangers, look more like hardworking, rough farmers than prophets or priests of a new, have dark complexions, black hair and eyes, stiff joints, a clumsy carriage, shrink from advances, and make newcomers feel ill at ease and unwelcome."
Oh my God.
Alcott would go on to write about 400 different manifestations he witnessed during his time with the brothers.
Wow.
Alcott would claim that there's no way that they could have this many costume changes, varying heights and backgrounds, even speaking various languages.
Dang.
He was convinced that there wasn't any possible way for the family to even pay for everything that they would need to pull off this trick.
Yeah.
They didn't charge for admissions to the seances and would even let some tenants stay for free. Remember, they only charged $8 a week.
Yeah, so they're really not seeming like they're in this for like the profit or anything.
Exactly. The brothers did have regular spirits that would be a part of their seances, like the Lady of the Lake, Meta the Witch of the Mountain, Native American female Honto, and Mother Eaton. Alcott collected affidavits of eyewitness testimonies from the tradesmen he asked to inspect the home for tricks. He wrote up to 15 articles about his experience at the Eddy's home. In his 5th letter, he wrote, "The Eddys, we may say, live 3 distinct lives, one external, one conscious, and one unconscious internal life. The first is the common lot of us all. The second, they see spiritual things while others in the normal condition and remember what they see. The third state of deep trance, into which William, the greatest medium in history, invariably enters when sitting for the materializations, and into which Horatio and the others fall when obsessed by other spirits who communicate orally to their personal friends, or when levitated, or when sitting for powerful physical manifestations in light or dark." Wow. So they did this daytime, nighttime.
Yeah.
Inside, outside.
So that's what all that meant. I'm kidding.
Upon recovering from this latter condition, the medium seems to be remembering nothing that has befallen him except upon those rare occasions when William, like Epimendes and Corfidus, no idea who these people are, has left his body dead and wandered in the supernal spheres. Back accounts of what he had seen and heard among the immortals.
Okay.
So he goes to another place.
Kind of like a different astral plane?
I think so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So every day except on Sundays, the brothers would perform a seance for guests. They would have them gather in the seance room and sit on wooden benches that faced the platform. The platform was only lit by kerosene lamps and made of wood. On the platform was a small cabinet that William Eddy would enter during the seance. Soon the guests and visitors would hear voices, and the musical instruments in the room would begin to play and would fly above their heads. Spirits would then begin to emerge from the cabinet. They would interact with the guests, and some were manifestations of lost loved ones. The apparitions would talk with guests and could even make objects move or appear.
Dang.
Alcott even inspected the spirit cabinet and platform to see if there were any trapdoors, and he was not able to find anything. He went on to write a 500-page long book called People from Other Worlds. He was so enamored by what he saw that he himself became a believer and joined the spiritualist cause.
Wow.
He would visit other mediums and even on occasion return to the Eddy home. He was not the only one to visit the Eddy house to decide for themselves if they were frauds. Okay, so in this article I found, it talks about various like Shakers and spiritualists who were very well known at the time that went to this place to see for themselves. So we're not going to know who the hell they are. But to these people, they were really important.
Okay.
Okay. So one of the like big people who were part of the movement was some guy named Evans. He deemed his experience at the Eddies, quote, to be as true and real, as genuine as are any facts in agriculture or chemistry that I have ever witnessed. I fully realize the responsibility I assume with this statement.
Pretty bold, Evans.
Pretty freaking bold. And then another, like, Shaker spiritualist person said, all sound on the genuineness of some of these manifestations. I have been through it, have been with the Eddies 10 days. They are as true as steel. The truth about them has not half been told. Okay, so this kind of describes like the seance room a little bit more. The particular house made notorious by these materializations is a plain one, standing a few feet back from the road, with some claims to modern additions in the shape of an L. Running back from its center some 40 feet with width of 20 feet.
Yeah. Okay.
And 2 stories high. The upper room of this addition, being devoted to the spirits, is entered by a door in the back center of the old house. Its one large room is entirely unfurnished, with the exception of a stove, 3 or 4 common chairs, 2 long rough benches, a common table with leaves 4 by 2 feet, on which are placed various common musical instruments: violin, accordion, harmonica, tin horns, bells, etc. At further end of this room, the floor is raised 2 feet, forming a platform 4 feet wide by 2 feet high, running the width of the room, and enclosed by a low railing except at the south end where there are steps. The cabinet on this platform is formed by taking the space from the chimney, which stands in the center of the back wall, to the north side of the building, enclosed with lath and plaster partition, leaving the door space next to the chimney, forming a 8 by 2 feet room, and the doorway is converted by an old blanket hung on hooks at the upper end. And I will put a picture of that when we post it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I couldn't imagine it when I was reading it until I saw the picture.
Yeah.
So there's a couple more where they're just like, yeah, this is legit. This is whatever. So throughout the 1870s, the spiritual occurrences at the Eddy home were attracting visitors from all over the country and all over the world. But of course, they had their skeptics, and
Naturally.
people were out to defraud the brothers and spill their secrets. And somebody spilled the tea. So, an anonymous report was published to the New York Sun, which is where Alcott first started posting his stories about the Eddies. And it revealed in full detail the manner in which the Eddies fooled visitors to their seances. Entitled Crooked Spirits, the article explained that Brother William and Horatio had a falling out and that William was leaving Chittenden. Their fraud was perpetrated via a sliding door under William's cabinet that, when open, provided hidden access to the kitchen below. William's room was just adjacent to the kitchen and doubled as storage for props and costumes. Visitors were seated in the circle room with hands joined to provide spiritual current needed for the materialization. William then disappeared into the cabinet while music was played. For a number of minutes, visitors listened to a variety of tunes, the sound helping to mask the noise of the floor sliding away. In the meantime, the Eddies' sisters, didn't even know there was more than one, Alice and Delia, who attended and managed the seances with her husband, Edward Brown, were waiting below to begin the manifestation of a number of regular female spirits. These included Lady of the Lake, Meta, the Witch of the Mountain, Native American female Honto, and Mother Eden. Costume changes were made below, and the Eddy sisters ascended a small passage adjacent to the chimney, which abutted the cabinet wherein William sat. It seems that William Eddy himself manifested the male spirits that appeared toward the end of the meeting using a high-pitched voice, squeaky voice, or speaking through a tin trumpet to mask his own voice.
Wait, but so you said, though, that sometimes, like, people's family members would come.
Yeah, so I read about that. And what this person was saying was that when you would see this manifestation, people had this, like, look of, like, I'm not really sure who you are. And then the spirit would look, like, sad that they were forgotten. And so the person would be like, oh, yeah, no, I remember you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
So it'd be, like, long-lost relatives?
Right.
Oh,
they did try to say these, like, well-known, like, Shaker women had appeared, like, dying years apart and things like that. So,
okay.
I don't know.
If you hear a weird noise, I'm zipping up my jacket.
I think for me, when I first read this and it was like, oh, 400, I pictured like 400 at once. Like,
400 what's at once?
like spirits.
Oh, just all like chilling in a room together.
Right.
Like Haunted Mansion style.
But then, yeah, exactly. But then I realized, like, oh, some are voices, some are physical. Although when Alcott described it, he said, like, they were, like, ghostly white and things like that. Like, some were more clear than others.
Huh.
So part of me thinks that some of it was legit and some of it was, like, added for flair.
Okay.
So eventually the brothers and their sister Mary decided to go their separate ways. And another report I found said that Eddie and Mary went up to New York and continued their performances. At one point, they even got arrested.
For what?
For fraud.
Oh.
But then the judge released them because they didn't have enough evidence, although I think they did get in trouble for not having, like, a permit to perform or something like that. Horatio stayed in Chittenden and kept mostly to himself, tending to his garden and doing magic tricks for the local children. I did find one article, though, that talks about this guy who was working in that area, like on the farm. And he said, the first thing we did wrong was begin work on a Friday. Never start anything on a Friday. It's bad luck.
I can stand by that.
So it was Honto's big ass rock all summer once logging. So part of where they would see the Native American come out was like this, not like a cave, but this like structure thing.
Okay.
We cut about 40 trees and they fit in the cave just perfect. Next month, the dog had a dozen pups and every one of them died.
No.
And I was like, what? So I tried to look more into it. I even tried to look it up on YouTube just to see if like people had gone or whatever, but there was nothing.
Yeah.
It was just like the history of it all. And then this one article like is talking to some of the residents that still live close by because the Eddy house is not in Chittenden, Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a town that doesn't exist anymore.
Oh.
And there's like one person that lives there.
Yeah.
So
I saw the house a lot in my research.
Right. So she asked this one person who lives right across the street from the house. It's now a ski lodge or ski club. And she asked if she's ever seen it levitate, and she just smiles like it's something she hears every day and says, never in my life. But the Eddys aren't there anymore. They died in like the 1820s and...
Would it be the 1920s?
1920s. Part of my shit deleted because I wrote that down.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because I wrote down that he, like, Horatio would do, like, tricks for the kids. And when they died.
Huh.
Rude.
Rude.
Well, anyway, one was like in the 1920s and one was in the 1930s. So.
Interesting.
Yes.
They must have lived a wild life. I would have loved to have seen like the whole spiritualist movement then. That would have been the coolest thing.
Well, and for me, when you know, this guy is saying that they're speaking all these different languages.
That's wild.
And it's like most people that went there really like were like bought into it.
Mm-hmm.
And they would say that there's people from all over the world coming, let alone all over the country.
Yeah. So then if they're speaking the different languages.
And I'm like, to be able to put yourself in a trance where you are physically beaten and you can't.
You're not like coming
like,
out of it.
How do you have that kind of disassociation?
Right.
Like that's just wild to me.
Right.
So I feel like probably what ended up happening is when they were in the traveling show, they might have like honed in on the performance part, you know, and were able to use it. But it doesn't sound like they were even trying to make a profit.
Yeah. From everything you said.
Like, they weren't advertising anything.
They're charging $8. They're showing people things for free, you know.
One of the brothers, when he went up to New York, was like charging for seances, but that was like his thing. It's not like it was an inn as well.
Right. And
one of the people like had asked them to come to another location and they said no. The spirits wouldn't let them.
I mean, I can see that too, though. Like if you're in a haunted house and you go to another haunted house, the same spirits aren't going to be in that new haunted house.
Right. So I feel like there's like, it's one of those things where there's got to be some truth in there.
Yeah.
To have all these people talking about it.
But how much truth?
Right. It's, you know, the 1870s. It's not like
right.
Go back and ask.
Did you ever read about Harry Price in all of your research? Oh, because he was Harry or Henry Price, one of those. He was kind of around this time and he was big into defrauding spiritualists. So he would do that. He would like follow someone, kind of watch them.
Yes. I don't remember the name, but I do remember reading about it because the reason why this all kind of fell apart and when the spiritualist movement kind of ended was it might have been that guy, but he like caught someone in fraud being, trying to say that they're a medium, and that person was also someone that Alcott had like spoke very highly of and said was legit. And so because that fell apart,
then everything kind of started to crumble.
Everything else fell apart. And I read on Wikipedia that some magician like was the one who figured out that the Eddys weren't real, but then this article, PhD dissertation, whatever the hell it is, it just said anonymous, and it was posted in the newspaper.
Oh.
So I don't know how Wikipedia found out that it was this one magician.
I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm just too much of a believer to doubt.
No, I like to believe in it too.
I was listening to another podcast and they were talking to Gabrielle Union.
Why do I know that name?
She's an actress.
Okay, that's right.
She was in Bring It On. She was in a whole bunch of stuff.
Keep talking.
She was in the first Bring It On she was the captain of the Clovers.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's married to Dwayne Wade.
Okay.
The basketball player.
Yep.
She's beautiful.
Yep.
They were talking about like the interviewer was like, he's like, I don't believe in ghosts for myself, but like if other people say they had experiences, I'm like, oh yeah, good for you. Like that's great. But me, no, they don't exist. It was really cool. She went somewhere to an Airbnb and she like walked in and she kind of felt some sort of presence. And she was like, I'm just going to keep to myself. Thank you for sharing this space with me.
Oh.
Like very like in a respectful way.
Right.
Like, kind of like how I feel where I'm like, I don't know. But I say they exist so that they don't prove me otherwise.
Right, yeah.
So
like how you would be if you were a ghost.
Exactly. So it was cool. It was very just like,
yeah. You do your thing, I'll do my thing.
Exactly. We'll just share this common space for a bit and then we'll depart.
Grandma had an experience like that where she used to be a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
And she was showing a house to some couple, and she says she opens the door and just gets this wave of like really negative energy. And she looked at them, she said, I will not show you this house today. She goes, I don't know what it is, but it does not feel good. She's like, if you want to tour it with someone else, by all means, but I will not show you this house. And the couple also felt it, and they just turned around and walked away.
I might be shooting myself in the foot by saying this, but like, I've had like the dream things
Mm-hmm.
and I've had like the thought things that occasionally like, whatever. But I would just like a teeny tiny one of like some sort of ghostly thing.
Right.
Just teeny tiny.
Right. Other than the lights flickering or anything.
Yeah, well, I've found out that lamp just does that because if I turn it at a certain brightness,
interesting,
it starts to flicker. Unless like Albert is just mad that I turned it up that bright and
maybe he's like,
turn
this is
it
just
down.
too bright, man. Maybe he was
fair.
used to candles.
It is bright.
And so anything with brighter lights is just too much for him.
So, fun knee fact. So I still have the sweater vest.
Yeah, of course.
But when my sister and I were coming back from New Orleans, we had extra stuff. And we were like, well, we could go to Walmart and get a backpack, but we didn't want to go anywhere. And so my grandma like pulls out this bag. She's like, well, do you think this would be okay? And I was like, yeah, it would fit everything. And my sister's like, are you going to carry that through the airport? It's like the tag on it was from like the 1990s. It's a very old, like leather laptop case.
Oh, okay.
That I'm just like carrying around with like my shit.
Yeah.
And now I have that like sitting in my living room or my dining, well, not really, by the kitchen table. And then I have the sweater vest and I'm like, I feel like I'm starting to piece together Albert's outfit.
Oh, I love it.
The sweater vest and the thing go so well together.
Soon you'll find a nice pair of pants.
Right. And I'm like, I feel like I'm starting to like piece together. I really think that because that light never flickered when it was in the living room. It never did that. And now every time I turn it up to a certain brightness, it starts going.
Well, didn't you say you felt like a whoosh go by you once?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can never tell if that's the fan because my fan doesn't fan.
No, it does not.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
I don't understand how you can fuck up the dynamic of a fan.
Right.
So that it doesn't fan.
I think you can turn it the other way.
I have.
Oh.
I have done everything I could think of to get this fan to fan. And it does not fan.
Unfortunately.
It just spins. It's always on.
It just like mixes the air slightly.
Pretty much. But yeah, there was that one time that it was like a thing. And I was like, no. And when I say I want to have like an experience, not in my home.
By myself.
somewhere far away that I don't have to go back to.
Right.
Don't do it in my house.
Yeah, I've had my couple with like ghost hunting and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
That unfortunately for me, the more I read into this stuff, the more I'm like, oh, I really want to go.
We'll get you one day.
I just remember how fucking paranoid I was when we went on that ghost tour. And I knew nothing was going to happen.
Right, because we were out in the city.
Right, we were out in the city. There's hundreds of fucking people around.
So many.
But I was just, like, nervous.
I mean, that's like a fun nervous, though. Except there would be times during, like, a ghost investigation where, like, it would just get to be too much. So there was a time when I was like, I just need to sit in this room. It would be, like, our, like, safe room. I was like, I just need to sit here and just debrief while you guys go do your next session, and then I can jump back in. Because sometimes you just reach this level of scared where you're like, I can't do more right now.
I think the reason I get so worried about my anxiety with it, just because it's so bad.
Yeah.
Like, I still sprint up the stairs.
Oh, I do that too.
Because I'm like, oh my God, a monster's behind me.
I do that too.
You know, like I have such a very overactive imagination. I'm already very jumpy.
Yes, you are.
So we would just have to go with the two of us because I don't trust anybody else.
Oh, yeah, we'll go the two of us.
Because I think anyone else would try to fuck with me.
Yes, they would.
And
we'll go just us.
Yeah.
Because you'll trust me to not do anything.
Yeah, my palms are literally already sweating thinking about it.
You're like, whoa, get on there.
But we could do that. Okay.
We'll find something good, I promise. It won't be too scary. It won't be like mean spirits. It'll be like
Daytime.
Nice, happy spirits.
Daytime. We gotta go daytime.
Okay. I'll find something. We'll make it work.
Maybe like dusk.
Okay.
Fuck. Okay.
You agreed? Everyone heard it here first?
Well, anyway, that's the Eddy Brothers.
That was really fun.
Right?
I really like learning about spiritualism.
Oh, it was so
I just
cool.
think it's so cool.
It was so cool. I was a little bummed when I read that part about like what they did to like trick and shit. But like I said, like this guy had people all up in there.
Right.
And he was like, they could not find anything.
Right.
And so while I feel like maybe later on, maybe as they got bigger, maybe they felt this need to
like be more grandiose.
Right, exactly. Versus like before, you know, it's just what they did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was very casual.
I like it.
I thought it was really cool. Especially since it was like a family affair.
Which is always
that was
really
legit.
cool.
Exactly. So, except for Dad. Dad sucks, but that's great.
You know.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Very cool.
There you go. It's another one I'm going to do. Compilation of us testing the microphones.
You should. I mean, you got to test them and make sure they're okay. The sound's okay. Well, it's because I think I have PTSD from when Nora and I first started, and the microphones, we didn't know how to do it so both of them would sound.
Mm-hmm.
So you would hear me testing, and then you hear Nora. And so we had to learn how to fix it. Okay. So.
I also keep my computer on silent because when I get a text message, it scares the shit out of me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I keep mine on silent, too, until we're recording because I'm nervous that the silent will make it silent.
Oh, yeah. I would be nervous about that, too.
Yep. I don't know if that's true. It's probably not.
Let's not risk it.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So today, I'm going to talk about Emily's Bridge and Lake Bomoseen.
Oh, I think I saw something about Emily's Bridge. I didn't read into it, though.
Good. So Emily's Bridge, also known as Goldbrook Bridge, Stowe Hollow Bridge, or even the Screaming Bridge, is located in the town of Stowe in Lamoille County. That's probably wrong, but I looked it up and that's the only thing I could find. So it's fittingly located at Covered Bridge Road. It is in a weird location, so it's like on this road that just has like normal residential houses on it, and then you turn down this like teeny little creepy side road and there's the bridge.
What does it connect to?
Like another like road. It's like a road, but it's just weirdly placed, and just where it is, it just makes it extra creepy. So the bridge is a small wooden covered bridge, and by small, I mean it's only 48.5 feet long, which is 14.8 meters, and 17 feet wide, which is 5.2 meters.
Yeah,
so it's not very big.
I mean, that's what's an Olympic pool? 50?
I don't
that's
know.
Yards. Never mind.
We're the only country here that uses, you know, feet and all that stuff.
True.
So,
although I forget, my dad said that for measurement, metric makes more sense because you can do it by tens.
Yeah.
But he's like, Celsius is fucking ridiculous.
Oh yeah. Celsius makes no sense.
Yeah. I'm like, we could maybe what we need is a compromise. Keep Fahrenheit because it seems more accurate than saying it's 40 degrees Celsius when it's like fucking 80 degrees outside. That's hot.
But their thing does make sense though. Their 0 is freezing and their 100 is boiling.
Yeah, but that's too big of a thing. Our freezing is 32 and our boiling is 212. Like, our body temperature is 98 degrees. Like, it all just makes sense.
No, I get it. But people in other countries are probably like, Celsius just makes sense.
40 degrees doesn't make any sense. That's cold.
To us.
That's cold.
Yeah, when we were in Italy, we were trying to figure out the thermostats in the rooms, and we're like, why does this only go up to freaking 40? And then you're like, oh, because
well,
that's
but think
really
about
hot.
it. If their freezing is 0,
Yeah.
that means that anything below that is in the negatives.
Yeah.
Versus for us, our freezing is 32.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
And so anything below that, it's like, it's below freezing, yes, but it's not in the negatives yet.
Right. It's still cold, but it's not like cold.
I just feel like it's more accurate.
Yeah, I mean, we have more. Because it's like with metric, it's like, by little tenths.
Yeah.
By us, it's by little degrees.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why measurement in metrics would make much more
Yeah.
sense and be so much easier to convert because it's just fucking 10.
Right.
So,
But, we have to be difficult over here.
we do.
So, this bridge is a covered bridge, meaning that it has a metal roof over the top of it. The bridge was built back in 1844. You had your stuff in the 1840s.
I did.
Yes.
Maybe they crossed the bridge.
Oh my God, maybe.
Maybe.
By John W. Smith, and is the state's only Howe Truss roadway that was used as a public roadway. So a Howe Truss is a very important thing for this bridge. The definition of that provided by Wikipedia is a bridge consisting of chords, verticals, and diagonals, whose vertical members are in tension and whose diagonal members are in compression.
Ah.
Did not know how to sum that up, so there you go. So
I say as if I know what that means.
Right. Like, oh, I have all this knowledge. In 1974, it was added to the National Register of Historic Places.
Oh, that's cool.
So, of course, this bridge had to get its name somehow, and as always, there are many different versions.
So I bet you one of them is a dead bride.
So, a girl named Emily was born to a poor family of farmers. As she grew up in the 1850s, maybe the 1920s.
Maybe she went to the Eddy house.
Maybe.
Vermont's a small state.
And stories, I don't know.
Yeah.
So she met and fell in love with a young man, but he had grown up in a much, much richer family. When his parents found out that he had fallen for a poor girl, they refused the wedding. But the young man must have still had feelings or something because he told Emily to meet him at the bridge one night at midnight and they would run away together and elope. Emily shows up and is waiting and waiting and waiting. But the young man, her true love, never shows up. So distraught.
Rude?
Right. So, distraught, Emily jumped from the bridge into the water below, ending her life.
Girl, no man is worth that.
No man is worth it. Other sources say she hung herself from the rafters that crossed the bridge.
Did he just say, I'm worth it?
Joseph!
You just hear him walk back. I'm worth it.
He is so full of himself.
That was beautiful timing.
So another version says that Emily, a young woman, was to be wed to a man, but tragically as she
A bride.
Right, as she was waiting at the altar in a red wedding dress, her groom never showed up. And then that reminded me, do you remember when we went out after Jesse's wedding and Jacob was still dressed up?
Yes.
So our friend Jacob was dressed up in his wedding getup, and all of his bridesmaids had changed into comfy clothes. So
but we still had our face on.
Right. So
Yeah.
we go out to the bar. I'm wearing leggings and a t-shirt. Mackenzie is too. Jacob's still in his suit and tie. So he goes up to the bar and he starts telling people that he was left at the altar.
But he gets so fucking nervous.
I know. So the first couple people were like, I am so sorry, buying him all these drinks. And Jacob will come over to us and be like, I feel so guilty.
He came over trembling. He felt so bad.
And then the guy told him, Jacob was like, I'm just going to tell him, I'm going to tell him I'm lying. So he goes over and the guy was like, said something. And he was like, yeah, if you're lying, I would beat you up. That's just such a fucked up thing to lie about. And Jacob goes, oh, I'll be right back. And he comes back over to us. He's like, I can't do it. He's going to hurt me.
Oh,
I think he did end up saying
Yeah.
I was just kidding and all was well, but it just made me laugh. But so, Emily's heartbroken. And in her heartbroken frenzy, she steals her family's wagon that has horses and drove off in search of him. She was riding erratically and aggressively, leading the horses pulling the wagon. As she's nearing the bridge, she wasn't able to navigate the slight turn that it has. She lost control of the wagon and plummeted into the rocky stream below. And yet another version comes from a local student who was able to channel Emily's spirit back in 1968. She said that while at the bridge, she was able to get in touch and channel a spirit who went by the name Emily. The spirit said that she was killed on the bridge by none other than her fiancé's mother.
Damn it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, I actually didn't expect you to say mother. So fiance, and I was ready, and then I was mother.
So the bridge received its name after the many stories that tell of her ghost being seen lingering on the bridge. So to start off with some sightings, in 1968, when a group of high schoolers went to the bridge, they were equipped with a Ouija board. They were able to get in
I
contact
want
with...
to do that.
I will absolutely never do that. You can have fun doing your Ouija board. Absolutely never with me.
Why?
No.
Why?
Nope. Too many things can go wrong.
My sister and I used to play this card game where we would start asking if there was ghosts, and red meant yes and black meant no. And you just flip over the cards.
Did anything happen?
I can't remember. We were childs. I was going with I was a child, and then I realized it was we were childs. I remember there was this one time I had a friend over, and we were at my dad's house, and dad's in like the middle of the woods. It's dark. It's a creepy house. And we're playing the game, and my dad comes into the doorway. And you know my dad.
Yes.
He's a big man.
Yes.
He's hairy. And he comes in and scares the shit out. Like, we scream. And my friend was like, I thought he was a gorilla. Yeah. So,
oh my gosh.
I doubt he remembers that, but it was very funny. But yeah, that's how we would contact ghosts.
Yeah, well, I'll never do that. You can have your own fun. Never will I touch one.
Okay, what if we did cards?
I'd be more likely to do cards.
Okay.
But it's still opening a portal that is scary to me.
Well, if we're going to go to a haunted place, we might as well.
But that's not as scary to me. Because it's not opening like this creepy portal, like a Ouija board and cards and stuff. You don't know who you're talking to.
You don't know who's in the fucking haunted house.
You know ghosts better.
I'm sorry. There's a difference?
Ghost and demon?
Okay.
Yeah.
Why would you be contacting a demon?
They come through the board.
Okay, well, we didn't contact any demons.
You know what we're going to have to do?
Use the cards to contact ghosts and ghosts only.
We are going to, one day, do an episode on the history of Ouija boards. Okay. And the dangers that can come from Ouija boards.
I didn't say there wasn't danger.
I'm not ever going to play one.
So. Okay, well, I'm bringing a deck of cards. Because that's what we did not contact. We just said, is there a spirit here or a ghost?
No, see, that's fine. A Ouija board is different because you're opening a different portal.
Okay, well then I'll bring a deck of cards.
Okay. So, this group playing with the Ouija board.
If you're still with us.
They were able to get in contact with a spirit named Emily. They even heard something dragging across the top of their car as they were planning on leaving.
Fuck that.
The story makes me wonder, though, if this is the same encounter as the lady who first made contact with Emily, or if it's just some people who went to the bridge also in 1968. Like, maybe that was a popular, like, bridge visit.
I mean, what else were you supposed to do in 1968 in Vermont?
Right. So a lot of the visitors to this bridge have experienced paranormal and creepy things. A lot of visitors have reported hearing things, like reported screaming, which could be how it got the nickname Screaming Bridge, and strange noises coming from around the bridge. Incomprehensible voices are heard and loud phantom footsteps. Some have reported that it sounds like a woman pleading for help. Some have reported hearing the sound of ropes tightening and stretching. Ugh. Music, described as sounding like wind chimes or a harp, are heard, usually seeming to be coming from under the bridge. Some people will actually go investigate under the bridge, and will find nothing. Others have claimed that when parked on the bridge, they could hear banging and scratching on the outside of their car. When they look at their car after, it looks like claws had scratched against it.
I take it back. I don't want to go anywhere.
People's arms and backs have been scratched as well by something unseen when walking on the bridge.
I can promise you, if something ever touches me, I will go full on Final Destination 2, put myself in a room with padded walls and never leave.
So a horrifying story talks about some horses who crossed the bridge and went speeding off in terror. When their owners looked at the horses, they noticed gashes had appeared on their bodies.
Oh, shit.
They were okay, though.
That's good.
Scuff marks.
No horses were harmed in the making of this story.
Yes. Scuff marks have appeared on the roof of some cars after a dragging sound was heard.
Jeez.
The bridge will be drastically hotter or colder than the normal temperatures outside. The feeling of being watched is strong, and floating lights are also commonly reported. So some experiences. One man was in his car going over the bridge when his windows all fogged up on their own, and he saw handprints start to appear on the glass.
Shut the fuck up.
I would cry.
That'd be the least of... See, that's the thing. I feel like I am on the track to literally being scared to death.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that is the direction I'm headed.
Where you're like, I will die.
Yes.
A group of teens were parked on the bridge one night when they saw a woman's shape materialize right in front of them. The figure started to approach them, so they all quickly shut and locked their doors. Then the figure actually started to fumble with the handles of their car as she tried to get in. I don't like that. Suddenly, her figure vanished. Your face. And those who have actually seen Emily's ghost say that between midnight and 3 a.m. is the best time to get a glimpse of her.
Isn't that the best time to do anything?
Oh, yeah, because like the witching hour is 3 o'clock.
Right.
But here, 2 a.m. seems to be the magic time.
Ah.
Someone, I believe to be George McGuire III, posted the story of the bridge to the bridge in 2005. So he posted, like, he wrote down the story of the bridge and posted it onto the bridge.
Oh.
Yeah. So it claims that for over 150 years, this bridge has been haunted. It mentioned most of what I mentioned about what people had reported hearing and seeing.
Most of what you mentioned?
That's right. So with people hearing and seeing things, but also said that photographs of the bridge don't always develop properly and that oftentimes a wispy streak or an orb will be seen in the photo. The story also mentions a ghost hunter named Mr. Dave who did some investigations of the bridge. He had taken a ton of pictures of it, and pretty much every single picture orbs were visible. Most were at the beginning of the bridge, and some were showing up in the middle, like all the orbs. Mm-hmm. Mr. Dave said that he started asking Emily questions, and when he did, he said a pain started to make its way from the back of his neck to the front of his neck, making it difficult to breathe. He said the pain was unbearable and excruciating, and that it really only hurt the back of his neck. He said the pressure on the front didn't necessarily hurt, but it was definitely there. He said the pain then moved from his neck to his head, and he heard a whooshing in his ears, like if you put your ear to a seashell. The pain was so bad that he started to get disoriented and tried to focus and protect himself from this attack he was experiencing, but he just couldn't. He said he felt drained and exhausted and had to leave the area immediately. As he was exiting the bridge, his vision started to blur from the intense pain. He ended his ghost hunting session on the recorder he had been using, and just barely as the pain had not subsided. It persisted until he actually started his car. He said the excruciating pain disappeared once the car started, and all that was left was a headache. Mr. Dave ended his story by saying, quote, "Legend has it that she hung herself on the bridge, and that is perhaps what I felt was the last thing she felt before she died."
Oof.
I know. Okay, so this woman named Sasha posted a story on spookyappalachia.com in September of 2002 about her experience going over Emily's bridge. So on this website, actually, they have like additional stories down at the bottom. Someone talked about a Mothman spotting that they had December, like literally 3 days after we posted we recorded our episode.
Huh.
And I was like, oh my God. And like it happened, they had another one like January 3rd.
Huh.
And I was like, wow, this would have been cool.
Yeah.
It happened in like another country, but it was still really cool.
Maybe it hurt us talking about him.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. So back to Sasha.
Yes.
She said that she and some of her friends had gotten pizza at a place just outside of Stowe. They decided that on the way back, they would stop by Emily's bridge because it was supposed to be haunted. So they head to the bridge, and as they arrive, they drive on and turn off their car. The friends got out of the car to start looking around for Emily. They look around for a bit, don't see anything, and all pile back into the car. As they turn the car on, everyone except Sasha started making fun of the legend, saying that it's not true, blah, 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 which you should never do. Well, all of a sudden, the car died. Like, everything. Headlights, heat, engine, everything completely dead. The group was absolutely unable to get the car to start again. As they were discussing what their next plan of action would be, the car's radio blared on. And it was playing the Elton John song, Emily. But not sung by Elton John. Rather, it was sung by a very sad woman. Ooh, your reaction just gave me chills.
No!
I know. But just like that, the car started again and the group floored it out of there.
Oh, I don't like that!
I know, it's so creepy. So I watched a video on YouTube called The Scariest Location I Have Ever Been To, Emily's Bridge, Season 2, Episode 2 of Paranormal Identification. So I think it's a couple, they go to different haunted places together. Their names are Mary Kill and Blake Edward.
Wait, what?
Their names are Mary Kill and Blake Edward. Yeah. What?
Mary Kill?
Yeah, I know. Oh. So they both said that this was the scariest investigation.
His name should be fuck.
I know. So they said this was the scariest investigation they had ever been to up to this point.
Okay, we're not going.
No.
We're not going.
No.
We're not going.
So they go to the bridge during the day just to like check it out, kind of see what they're working with, get a feel for it, so when they come back at night, they'll know what they're dealing with. So Blake had a drone and decided to get some drone footage. So they walk through the bridge and the drone is following behind. As it's flying, it looks like it's being smacked because it does this like dramatic turn before it crashes and breaks.
Huh.
So they leave, do whatever, and around 11 p.m. they return to the bridge. So remember, the most active time for the bridge is between 12 and 3. Mm-hmm. So the moment Mary and Blake arrived and got out of the car, they said they began hearing weird and strange noises all around them. They did 3 different sessions with 3 different pieces of equipment. So the first was with the The first was with an EMF detector. So they didn't really get anything with that. The device was pretty silent. But as they were asking questions, Blake stated that he learned that Emily didn't really like communicating with men because when he asked Emily to show herself, he said that the energy took a turn and got really dark and heavy.
I mean, I wouldn't want to show myself to a man either.
Right. Next, they started using the REM pod. So this is a device that is a light. The light will go off if a spirit gets close to it. So the light will turn on.
Yeah.
So as they're talking about the REM pod and asking Emily...
On is off.
Right. Yeah.
Got it.
Like positive is negative.
Yeah.
So they're asking Emily a personal question. I can't remember what it was, but it might have been how she died, something like that. Mm-hmm. Their camera was having a hard time focusing. But I mean, that happens, but at the same time, kind of weird. Not much was happening during the REM pod session, but they did get a male EVP saying, "She made me." The headlights of their car also randomly flashed at this point. So Blake had the keys in his pocket. So he says, like, maybe he accidentally hit it, but he's like, but I don't know because they're in my pocket. They continued to hear faint voices and noises all around them. So Blake decided to take some pictures of the bridge to see if they could catch anything. And while they're taking pictures, Mary was filming him so that she could take screenshots from the video, like if anything popped up. Mm-hmm. One of the pictures he took had some mist in it, and the very next picture had nothing, which it was cold. It was like, they said it was 1 degree. Oh. So I know. So it could have been the breath, but the next picture right after had nothing. In one of the screenshots Mary took from her video, it looks like a little boy is hanging on the rafters. So I didn't see it at first, but then they zoomed into it. Oh, I did not like it. It had like eyes. It was creepy. Like actually really, really creepy. Another picture shows what looks like a head up in the rafters. So that one I didn't super see, but it did look like there was something there. It could have been like an owl, but it looked like it could have been a head. And so they're like, maybe it's Emily peering down, like watching us. Yeah. So apparently a bag they had with them ended up going missing at some point, but that was never mentioned again. So I don't really know. Then the last device they used was a spirit box. So that's the one that goes through all the different channels and kind of goes like...
Yeah. Sound pissed me off.
I know. It's really loud and it's scary and I don't like it, but I think I did a great impersonation. So all of the following responses came from the spirit box. So at one point, Blake said Emily's name, and the spirit box in a male's voice said Mary, the female investigator's name. Oh. Then a female's voice said hello. Blake asked Emily how she died, and a male's voice said hectic. Blake asked, did you hang yourself? A female's voice said accident, and a male's voice said I know. They were recording just asking questions and heard footsteps running up behind them.
Shut the fuck up.
And there's no one on, like, if there was no one on this bridge, like, helping them make this scary, it was loud because it's like a gravel bridge.
Yeah.
And you could hear, like, something running at them.
The fuck?
They don't know if it was, like, a person or, like, a ghost or, like, Emily. So Blake said that he kept getting, like, this eerie feeling while they were using the spirit box, trying to ask the questions. He said it felt like someone was, like, right behind him and was going to jump out at any second. Blake asked, Emily, is there anything you want to say to us? And a male's voice said, leave. So not long after, they got a strong feeling that they needed to leave.
Peace out.
And that is when they heard another noise that it sounded like, again, someone was running at them, but this one was intense. Like, the first one was, like, walking towards them. This one was, like, running towards them. So they don't know if it was, like, an actual person or what, so they booked it out of there.
I would have booked it out of there.
I wouldn't have gone there. So later, Mary is going through all the video footage and trying to, like, edit it, and she found something that they didn't notice when they first arrived at the bridge that night, and they make a mention of it at the beginning of the video, and I didn't notice it, so I was like, what is happening? So they explain it. So they're in the car getting their equipment together, like, you know, in the front seat, and she believes that she saw Emily in the back seat because so one of them was, I think it was Blake was wearing a body cam, so he can record everything without having to use his hands for it. And as they're getting the equipment together, they're checking the cameras, they're turning things on and off, making sure everything's working. The body cam has, like, the rear view mirror in view.
No.
You can see something in the corner of the rear.
Close the bathroom door. I can see the mirror and it's freaking me out. You have to close the bathroom door.
Oh my god! I will go close it.
You have to go close it.
Oh, but now I'm scared. Because we have a nightlight that, like, for Roy, which, like, gives
and
a
it
really
just gives it that
shadow.
eerie glow.
I know.
And it's just cracked enough that you could see a face. You're gonna have to walk me to my car. My palms are sweating again.
So in the video, in the corner of the rearview mirror, you see a figure come up and move. And they also tried to debunk it where they would both sit in the same positions and Mary was moving in the way that she had been moving. It never shows up in the rearview mirror.
The fuck? I hate mirrors.
I do too, and you have to get into your dark car and drive home. I'm so sorry.
I can't, like, After these things, when I drive home, I cannot look in my rearview mirror.
I don't like looking in it either. It, like, freaks me out.
Unless I'm on, like, a well-lit road.
Oh, yeah. Even then, I still don't like it. So Mary and Blake rated it out of, like, 10 out of 10 haunted.
No shit.
Yeah. So the bridge is so popular with the local teens who like to hang out at a creepy bridge at night and ghost hunters that go to investigate that an ordinance has been made that stated no alcohol could be consumed at the bridge after dark and no loud music was permitted.
Fair.
So Joseph Citro, a man familiar with all things scary in Vermont, had an interview with Obscure Vermont where he said the following, quote, "The story of Emily's Bridge doesn't go back to the 1800s, but rather much more recently in the 1970s. A woman by the name of Nancy Wolfe Steed claimed that she was the one who created the story of Emily to scare local youth. There was a swimming hole somewhere near Stowe and Morrisville. She remembers making up the story of the bridge to amuse the kids. At the time, there was a huge surge in the occult and the paranormal in the flypaper. That is popular culture, especially with films like The Exorcist that had been recently debuted. She was also the one who came up with the name Emily." So Steed was interviewed, and she said, quote, "The girls were buzzing about witchcraft and covens, and we said we should probably tell them about this bridge and this Emily who died there. Each of us would add our own line to the story, and boom, it just took off and went crazy, but it was just made up." But so many people have had experiences.
Wow, we both tricked each other and that was all made up.
But so many people have had experiences, though, that, like, it's kind of hard to say that it was made up.
Well, and it's also, like, sometimes with these situations when you're going into a place you know is haunted.
Yeah.
I'm like, is there part, like, when they're like, I had an eerie feeling. I'm like, okay, but was that...
Because it's haunted.
Because it's haunted? Yeah. Like, is there some self-fulfilling prophecy there that,
or
like...
did something manifest here because of all, like, the energy of people going, thinking it's haunted? So this ended up being a lot shorter than I expected it to be because the many, many, many pages on Emily's Bridge also the same thing. So sticking with short haunts, I'm going to throw in Lake Bomacene. So Lake Bomacene is a large freshwater lake located in West Castleton and Hubbardton in Rutland County. The word Bomacene is actually an Abenaki word, which means keeper of ceremonial fire.
Ooh.
The lake has been a central location for centuries with the Abenaki, Mochahan...
Central location for centuries.
and Iroquois people all fishing in the lake and hunting in the surrounding area. This is actually the largest lake that's entirely in Vermont, with a surface area of 2,400 acres. So they have, like, the Great Lakes, but those are in, like, other states. So this lake is fully in Vermont.
Oh.
Yeah.
The Great Lakes touches Vermont?
Maybe it's another state we were doing research for. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Well, I mean, maybe... Like Erie? I don't know.
Well, I guess maybe there are other big lakes that go into other states, but this is the biggest lake that's just completely in Vermont.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is 65 feet or 19.8 meters at its deepest point. Today, it's an active lake with a public beach, marinas, boat launches, a state park, as well as many houses and restaurants surrounding it. But it hasn't always been that way. Castleton had originally been settled in 1770 and was just a small little town. Then in 1854, the railroad came through, making it a destination for industry. Those industries had been mainly quarries and mills, mainly for mining slate and marble. Many immigrants from Italy, Ireland, and Eastern Europe had moved here and were thriving in the area working in these mills and quarries. With the area around the lake ever growing, it's no surprise that restaurants and shops started to open up around the lake as they wanted to get all of that business. The Eastern Shore had all of that. The fun, the recreational stuff, that was like the fun side. The western side, West Castleton, had the mills and quarries. All work, boring side. Over on the western side was the biggest employer in the area, the West Castleton Railroad and Slate Company. Working in the mines and quarries was an often dangerous, hard, and strenuous job. So one weekend night in either the 1910s or 1929, again, different sources.
It's a decade later.
I know. 3 of the Irish workers decided that they deserved a hard-earned drink and decided to head to the pub over on the other side of the lake.
Fair.
They wanted to do what all people do and wanted to blow off some steam and just relax. So they borrowed a rowboat and began to head over to the eastern side of the lake, a roughly 1.5 mile row. This was the main way that people would get from the western side to the eastern side. It was a quick little route. It was a traveled route.
Mm-hmm.
But the men never made it to the pub and never made it back home either. The next morning, their empty rowboat was found floating in the middle of the lake.
What?
A search was launched immediately, but the bodies of the men were never found. This spooked many of the mine and quarry workers. 3 of their friends or coworkers went out for a drink, traveled on a seemingly safe lake, taking the popular and common route, and disappeared. This prompted a lot of ghost talk, one of the main stories being that on full moon nights, a ghostly rowboat can be seen moving across the lake.
Mm-hmm.
The boat leaves no wake, doesn't disturb the calm waters at all. And then as smoothly as it is seen, it disappears. The years continue to pass by and the areas continue to be mined, but over time, the workers need to dig deeper and deeper, further and further down. This eventually made the work far too dangerous and expensive. The work was no longer worth it, and factories started to close their doors. But with the factories leaving, tourism started to ramp up. It was a beautiful lake after all. The lake was a great vacation destination with resorts and inns popping up all over. And one island in particular was a must-visit location, Neshobe Island, which is located pretty much directly in the middle of the lake. The island isn't too big. It's just the length of a football field, maybe only about 250 feet at its widest part. So it's very close to land, only about 50 or 60 feet away. And it's also forested. So in 1924, Alexander Woollcott, a drama critic, loved this island so much that he decided to buy it. He bought the whole island and pretty much turned it into a club for all of his closest friends.
I love that.
His A-list celebrity friends would get an exclusive invite to the island.
I want an island.
I know. Let's just buy an island.
Okay.
They would stay in the house that
We
he...
can build a lighthouse on it.
Oh, yes, with
Yeah.
all of our dogs.
Oh my god. Okay.
All right, we're doing it.
Okay.
So they would stay in the house he built on the island, and they just enjoyed the lifestyle of being a celebrity with celebrity friends.
Fuck yeah.
He wouldn't allow them to get drunk, though, so they would be able to drink, but they weren't allowed to get intoxicated, and he had, like, all these rules. I don't know.
I mean, he is in the middle of a lake.
I did not go into all of those rules.
Got it.
But hiding within this forest, never mentioned by Woollcott or really anyone else, were mysterious giant rabbits, of course with red eyes.
Of course.
So I literally could only find about these rabbits from the transcript of one podcast called New England Legends. Descriptions of these rabbits vary from being double the size of a normal rabbit to being as big as a bear.
That's like the bear lake monster we did.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, it's either like 10 feet or 200.
Right. So how did these big rabbits get to this island, you may wonder?
They swam.
They hopped, of course. The 60 feet from the shore to the island.
Use their ears as
Right,
paddles.
propellers. But more realistically, they waited until the water froze and walked across, or they swam, because they do swim. But
rabbits swim.
yeah, they don't enjoy swimming, and they don't like choose to swim, but if they have to, they will.
Interesting.
Yeah, I learned that from the New England Legends podcast. But no one really mentioned these wild things, and there is no reported sightings of these giant rabbits. Like, I typed in giant rabbits Vermont. Nothing. Or the pages I would click, like, aren't real pages anymore.
Right.
So.
Oh, God, I fucking hate that.
I know.
Because you'll see a description, you're like, I bet this is good.
Yes!
Click, no longer found. Motherfucker!
Yes, that happened to me so much trying to find these giant rabbits. But because of these creatures, the island does have another name it goes by, which is Rabbit Island.
Fair.
And, like, I think the guys on the podcast said it's, like, shown on a map as Rabbit Island.
Rabbit or rabid?
Rabbit.
What's it called?
Rabbit. So the animals.
Okay.
So there you have it. The very haunted Emily Bridge and the also very creepy Lake Bomacene and Neshobe Rabbit Island. So there's the Vermont for you.
Oh my goodness gracious. That was a great ending.
I was like so confident too, and it's a day.
Wabbit. It's a wabbit season.
Well, thank you for listening.
Oh, thanks for sticking with us. This is one of those episodes, you know?
Some of those days. We have some fun stuff in the works. We're really excited to announce when it is all ready.
So be extra paying attention to social media.
Extra paying attention.
Extra.
Yeah, so that's all we have for you tonight. So stay scary.
Stay safe.